everyone, this is Anna from Savvy Cat Realty. For those of you who don't know, Savvy Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agency that supports expats in relocating to Portugal. We work with both purchases and rentals, and we work in the whole country. We also support with your own lifestyle and help you figure out the ideal location in the whole country to your own personal needs. So today's topic is the Simplex 2024 and the new habitation regulations that were launched by our government at the beginning of the year, and what implications they have in our country and what implications they may have for you personally and as a new buyer or owner. So one of the biggest things that the most relevant change that was set is that it is no longer mandatory to show an habitation license and a technical file when making a property purchase and transaction. I don't know why they made this change. Supposedly it was to simplify the purchase process. I personally don't see this change as being a good thing. I see this as being a huge risk for buyers, as it makes it a lot easier to buy something illegal. So be very careful when you are looking in the Portuguese market right now, because this already is in order. So this is already an active measure. And in 2024, you no longer need to present a valid habitation license and a technical file of a property to make a property transaction, which once again makes it very easy to sell illegal property. And it is not that uncommon to find illegal property in Portugal. So you really need to be very careful when buying property in Portugal from now on, because this measure makes it very easy to buy problematic property. And because of the way that the market works, you really need to make sure that you have someone actually on your side, like a lawyer or a buyer agent, to make sure this doesn't happen. So buyers beware, this is not good for buyers, and you need to be extra careful when buying property in Portugal. So this is one of the new changes that was made. One that I personally don't really agree with and don't really see much positive impact on, but let's see how it goes. But there are other measures, and some of them are positive, although I do think that in general this package was a bit disappointing. One of the things that has been announced is that it's going to be possible for townhouse to convert rural plots into urban plots if destined for affordable habitation. So it cannot be just anything. It needs to make sure to abide by the affordable habitation regulations in order to be possible to make this change. This may be an interesting measure. One of the other possibly interesting measures that was settled is that there were made some simplifications on the construction requirements. There were certain construction requirements that were a bit silly and outdated, such as it was mandatory to have a bidet in a bathroom in any new construction in Portugal. That was one of the things that was removed, and the regulations regarding kitchens were also a bit more relaxed, and it's now possible to have kitchenettes and simpler kitchens in apartments and make more use of space in that way. So that's one of the things that can be interesting from a construction perspective. There were also some simplifications in regarding to the licensing processes. Some of the things that used to require, like some of these measures are only going to start in the 4th of March, but some of them have already been activated. And like I was saying, the one about the licenses in the deeds is already active. But many of these that I'm mentioning now are only going to be active from March on. Anyway, simplification on the licensing, so meaning that some of the processes that used to require licensings are now just going to require a pre-warning. And there are a few specific things that fall within this category. And you also need there is also more responsibilization of the technical staff, which I think can be a good thing, but let's see how it plays out. And there was also a change on the times on the licenses. So when you require a license for a construction or a change in your property, it's a very complicated process, and it's a pain because usually townhouses take forever and they keep asking for silly documents and restarting the deadline. So the current process was that there was 120 business days deadline, and when it was finishing, it was very common for town halls to just ask for a minor document and restart the deadline. So they will no longer be able to do that, and now there are going to be different deadlines. So for property under 300 square meters, the deadline is still going to be the 120 business days. And if the town hall does not keep with this deadline, the project is automatically approved under something that it's called deferimento tácito, which basically means automatical approval just due to not complying with the deadlines. And this is one of the big changes, which I think it will be positive, but it also leaves things open to some problems, like what if things are automatically approved that don't comply with certain legal regulations, and then the works are going to be embargadas, so that's the Portuguese word, but basically they're going to be put on hold until that is solved anyway. So it is a bit of a two-way street. I think it has a lot of advantages, but it can also have some disadvantage. These new deadlines, they can stretch up to 300 business days for projects with useful areas over 2,200 or 3,200. Anyway, for big projects, it can stretch up to 300 business days, which is a lot of business days. But either way, town halls do tend to not keep with these deadlines and not have consequences, and this makes it that there are consequences. Now the question is whether or not those consequences are going to be overall positive, and I really hope they will be. But let's see, it depends on the responsibility on both sides. If people are submitting projects that are aligned and don't have any major issues, it's fine. But if people are not being that careful and submitting projects that have illegal factors, then we're going to have problems. So let's see how this develops. Overall, I think this can be a positive measure in general, but it is going to be very much a wait and see scenario to see what happens. There were also some change when it comes to the capital gain. The capital gains that you get and the way they are calculated was also changed. So at the moment, in order to be able to have exemption of capital gains, you need to have lived in that property or have it as your own personal habitation for at least 24 months, and also repurchase something that is also for your own personal habitation. And there is also limits on the amount of the repurchase. So there is some new limitations on that. I don't particularly like them, but I think they are not that bad and do make some sense. The tax on the logement local, so local lodging / holiday rentals, was also approved. So at the moment there is already approved an extra tax on holiday rentals. This actually was a huge situation because it was proposed, but then they had 60 days to announce exactly how it's going to be and how to calculate it, and they didn't. And they actually launched that decree where the calculation guidelines are written on the 29th of December of, so it was pretty much on the last business day of the year. So supposedly in 2024, this special tax will apply to the new, to the existent alojamentos locais. It can be going between 19 to 35 euros per square meter. It is, from what I understand, a one-time contribution, and the way that these calculations are made seem to be quite complex, and it depends on the purchase value, the profits, and the area of the property. And it is an extraordinary contribution on top of the remaining taxes that alojamento local already has to pay. So that is definitely something to take into consideration if you are looking into that business. It is also, at the end of last year, it was also launched that you had to register your alojamento local in a special platform in order for it to be considered active. Otherwise, it would actually automatically be considered inactive and you would be at risk of losing your license. So that was a big issue because the platform wasn't working for the first 2 months, and people had a really hard time actually submitting those. But in the end, it was working at least in the last month. So hopefully most people managed to do that. And if you didn't, definitely check out with your lawyer and accountant to make sure that you get up to date on these new regulations. So this is the most important things that I found in this new Simplex habitation package that has been officially launched in the 4th of January, and some of the things, like I mentioned, are not active yet and will only be active on the 4th of March. If the government changes, there is also a possibility that some of these measures will change. But for the time being, they are what has been published and should be staying for 2024. So I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear your opinion on this and your feedback. If you need any specific advice, and you can always reach out to us at contact@savvycatrealty.com. And you can also check all our services in our website at www.savvycatrealty.com. We are extremely transparent. All our information on pricing, inclusions, and staff, values, mission, everything is very clear on our website. So I hope it is helpful. We also have our blog there with a lot of useful information about moving and living in Portugal, also development and construction. So I hope to see you around there. We launch videos every week. So I hope to see you all next week. Bye.